Okay folks, in this clip I'm going to teach you how to draw bubbles. Now, they're relatively simple, which I'm sure you would think they are, but there are different ways you can do it to make them look even more believable. So obviously, bubbles are very good if you want to practice drawing circles. And when you're drawing bubbles, it's a good idea to draw many different sizes. And really use, if you have to draw bubbles for whatever reason, really use this as a time to perfect your circle drawing ability. Maybe even overlap a few. You can kind of go like that, like that. Draw some bigger bubbles. Bubbles will almost always be perfect circles. It's really, and after a while, after you draw circles upon circles upon circles, it really starts to become easy. So, at this point I would say we've got a pretty good start on the circle drawing. So yeah, draw many different types of circles, different shapes, sizes. And once you've done that, once you've kind of gotten to the point where you're really comfortable with the circle drawing part of it, we're going to start to add some details to the bubbles that really help sell them. And the most obvious way that we do this is we draw the reflection on the bubbles. Now there are a couple ways you can do this, but my favorite and most obvious way is to lightly go in with your pen, kind of draw a little mini reflection just lightly. You'll notice that the outer line for the bubble is much more solid. The inner stuff is very light. I mean, if you have to draw a little bit more detail, that's fine. But really just kind of lightly go in there and add sort of a, looks like almost like a little door with a circle above it. Or, I mean, you can really do it any way you want to. I mean, you could even add just a little, what would look like, I suppose, a little surfboard right in there, just to create the look of reflected light. Now, the only downside to this is, obviously, if you do it on one bubble, you're going to have to do it on almost all of them. Otherwise, it will kill the reality. So make sure you just get in there and really kind of lightly give the bubbles some reflection. And for the bigger bubbles, you can even add a little bit more dimension to them. Like the one way to look at it would be if the reflected light is hitting this side of the bubbles, hitting the right side, it might make sense to kind of make the left side a little bit darker. And if you're using a pencil or pen, you just kind of lightly brush it in like that. It helps basically make the bubbles look three-dimensional, which is obviously what you want. I mean, anything you can do to make the bubbles look more interesting is probably a good thing. And at the end of the day, you should have a collection of relatively believable looking bubbles. So, there you go.